Today's video is going to be talking about Borbo, but more importantly Dark Borbo and why it is difficult for the majority of players. He's honestly broken and needs a little bit of change. I'm going to tell you why he's so hard, giggity, what I do to beat him, and what monsters to use for him. If you like all my videos and content, hit the sub button, hit the like button, hit that bell ding thing so you know when I post a video. Let's go, baby. Alright, Dark Borbo, why is he so difficult for the majority of players in the game? And I mean majority, I mean like 95% of the players in the game. The other 5% are the heavy spenders. As you see in the statistics, two of the most used monsters in this dungeon on my server are 2 light 5 stars. But what is the main issue? There's multiple. Number one, the main issue on Dark Borbo. He has 4 times the amount of HP as any other dungeon boss in the game. 2,490,000. Where Light Shrekly, on the other hand, has 536,000. And he still is an issue to some players. So Dark Borbo has 4.5 times more HP than Light Shrekly. Wind Arachne, 632,000 health. Water Roads, 536,000. Fire Taladas, which is the highest of the other ones, is 957,000. Even like Kamari on Special Expedition Hard Mode has 620,000 health. So this is one of many big issues on Dark Borbo. Second is that he's a Dark Element, which is fine, we need Dark Element dungeons, right? So unless you have a superior light natural 5-star unit, you're not getting that element advantage damage bonus. So here's more issues to Dark Borbo's problem. One, he only has damage done from basic attacks. All other damage only does like 1% of its actual damage. So you need high attack speed damage dealers. If Dark Borbo attacks someone on your team that does not have any beneficial effects, it removes all of its harmful effects and applies a beneficial effect to itself. And these buffs are attack speed up, precision up, and damage dealt up. He also gets an unremovable attack up and attack speed up buff every 20 seconds in the battle. So the longer the battle goes, the harder he's going to hit. And these dungeons are not fast. Everybody on this record list has been a high spender at one point or still currently is. This is the longest dungeon in the game, and it's because of Borbo's HP. So you need to be bringing buffs for your team. And really, they all need to stand near each other, and I'll talk about that in a minute. However, Borbo applies burn to all enemies as well, and if your teammates have burn, he does lethal defense ignoring attacks. So you need buffs, you need cleanses, you need attack speed damage dealers. And if your buffs are off a cooldown and he so happens to attack someone who doesn't have a buff, you're going to need a buff stripper. You also need harmful effects so he doesn't get his ultimate. Every time he receives a harmful effect from your team, his ultimate gauge goes down. So you need a lot of different things to go into this fight. And that's the hard part about it, because the expeditions require certain classes to come into the fight. And in Dark Borbo, you need 1 archer monster and you need 1 wind knight. You might not necessarily have the right monsters for this dungeon either. So everything together just makes it super hard. Giggity. I'm going to tell you how I beat it. There's 2 teams that I can use that can beat it every single time. These aren't speed clears, but I'm going to tell you what the teams are. In the 2 comps that I use every time, it's Ariel and Bernard. I use my Ariel on Soul Link, spamming his second skill for that AoE cleanse and a heal over time. Also, when I get my ultimate, it'll use Ariel's ultimate to remove debuffs from my team. This also applies the heal over time again on my whole team, keeping me having a buff on my team so that Dark Borbo does not get any buffs. Secondly, Bernard, who is my Wind Knight. I want to eventually change him because in the team comp that I use, you need an archer and Bernard is a front line buffer. And 9 times out of 10, Bernard's attack speed buff does not reach to Saurian, so it doesn't make sense. But really, he's the best Wind Knight to use in this dungeon. It just makes sense. The attack buff, the movement speed buff. I mean, for Nat 5s, you can bring in Wind Beetle. Lagmaron doesn't really make sense at all. Eladriel is probably like the best Nat 5 one to use, but he's only a single target heal. And again, Ritesh is a single target heal as well. And because of all the things you need, you can at least bring in Bernard for the buffs that you need to keep on your team, so that Dark Borbo doesn't get his buffs. Another Wind Knight you can use is Rakaja if you want to use him for heals. But that's all he's going to bring is heals. So Bernard is your choice. So now you need your archers, right? So for an archer, I use Tessarion, have him on attack speed build. And I like using Tessarion because he has a defense down and he has burns. Burn does apply a small crit damage buff, so that will help the basic attacks. But what other archers can you use? The new Fire Ninetales is a good option. Fire Vampire Hunter is a strong option. Water Ifrit is another great option, especially with his basic attack. If the enemy has Frostbite, he gets damage dealt up 15%. And he applies Frostbite, plus you can freeze this boss and he has a freeze on his first skill. Again, skills don't do damage, but the harmful effects will work. Argan's not the strongest option because his main damage comes from his second skill, but he does give himself an attack buff, which is nice. He also has defense down. And for 4-star options for archers, there's not many, which makes Dark Borbo more of an issue. But the best ones in my opinion are Wind Amazon Hina. She has an electric shock, and if the enemy has electric shock, she does 50% more damage on her basic attack. Lauren's probably one of the best 4-stars to use. Defense break can remove buffs, applies debuffs. You can even use Lynn, but she doesn't bring anything, no debuffs, no buffs, anything except for straight damage. But she does more damage attacking Borbo, and she has the element advantage. Last but not least for archers, Dark Cowgirl. She has a passive that increases her own crit damage, and again she has a high attack modifier on her basic attack. But you really want to build your archer on a high attack speed build. High crit rate, high crit damage, high attack speed. I honestly haven't found a true free-to-play team that will beat Dark Borbo. There's too many variables to this fight. This is the closest free-to-play team that I have that has beaten Dark Borbo. It's with Bernard, Lauren, and I have a natural 5-star unit, Ariel, as my soul link. I've tried it with Lulu and it just doesn't work. This battle takes forever. And the reason I use Ariel as soul link is because he keeps my whole team having a heal over time buff, which makes Dark Borbo not get his 3 buffs that he gets when he attacks an enemy with no buffs. But the problem, as you see here with the Wind Knight Bernard, his attack speed buff doesn't reach Lauren every single time. It really depends on the AI. If you want a full auto team, it makes it very, very hard to do. Now, because it's Special Expedition, and you only need to do it once, when the dungeon is open, you should just be doing it manually. And it's really like semi-manual because you can just have it auto the whole time. But the main spell to look out for when you're doing this on auto and when you need to manual it is when he does the huge AoE damage. It's like a ton of meteors from the sky. I'll talk about it when he actually does it. But even with this team, Lauren's already done 747,000 damage, and that's within 2 minutes of this fight already. Every single boss in the game of Special Expedition would have been dead by now for someone who does that type of damage. So here's the meteors that fall from the sky. This is really the one time when you should be manually it. You can move out of the way, don't get hit by those meteors, and everything else is pretty simple as long as you have a front line that is tanky. But we're already 2 minutes 30 seconds into this fight, and Dark Borbo's at 37% health. So yes, Borbo, he has very high HP. So good things for damage wise to bring would be damage over time, which is like burns, frostbite, electric shock, and also monsters that have damage based off the enemy's max HP. But as we all know, damage based off the enemy's max HP really is very hard to do. because the bosses in this game have multiple health bars. So where something says like 25% max HP compared to the enemy, it's not really doing 25% damage. It's literally like 5% or even lower. I'm not good with the mathematics of the mechanics, okay? But this is the team that I can beat it with, the closest free-to-play team possible. 3 minutes 51 seconds. Now if I bring in a natural 5-star unit like Tessarian instead of Lauren, I only cut 20 seconds off. But I wanted to do this video today because there's been a lot of people asking me how to beat it, especially since it's newer to the EU Asia servers. It's extremely difficult. Hopefully they will do something about Dark Borbo, because I think the majority of normal players are having issues with him. And that's it for today's video. Let me know if you're having trouble with it. Hopefully this video can help you. If you have different units you use, let me know too. If you like this video, sub, like, ding ding a bell. I'll see you in the next one. Peace!